Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Friday morning session. I apologize for the delay. I was having some technical difficulties. I'll share my screen with you. I'm just finishing loading my trade manager, and I'm loading it the hard way instead of the quick way, just to make sure that everything is working. What a day in the NASDAQ yesterday. A little bit the afternoon session, I thought for sure we were going to see the market tail off, and instead it put in a huge rally. And the surprising thing, yesterday we were talking about a lot about the support and resistance lines. Let's roll back here. We did get that bounce, the breakout above the primary resistance right here, and above the primary support, and it did end up going to the primary resistance and then some. Just a huge rally on the part of the NQ. Now we're getting a trend change signal right out of the gate. I'm going to hold off here, just give it a few moments to let the dust settle. You can see our Hawk and Falcon already turning a little bit bearish, but the Eagle Trend Trader still a little bit on the bullish side. Yeah, like Mark says, it does not want to give it up. It sure doesn't. Hats off to the NASDAQ bulls, because they are a force to be reckoned with. All right, we're getting something resembling a rule of three signal here on the Eagle. The rule of three would be our counter trend. And I am thinking reversal. I am thinking lower, because if you take a look at, well, you know that I've been looking for the NASDAQ to head lower for a little while now. But if we take a look at, oh, actually, it's not that far off the trend line. I was going to say the market is starting to shallow out. The upper end of this trading channel is very difficult to draw, though. I don't have a lot of peaks to shoot a line off of. Let's try that one. That looks fairly parallel to the bottom one, more or less. You see, and it's starting to look like we're getting a little bit shallow of this channel. And again, this isn't an exact science, but sometimes these trend lines are a good visual aid. Okay, Jim's shooting me some advanced decline numbers. It looks like very bullish, actually. 1,900 buyers, only 700 sellers. So that's, what's that, about 1,100 to the positive. I think if we take a look at yesterday's action, we're at a major support area right now. Throw another line on here, why not? Oh, maybe not. Maybe a little bit too soon. So looks like we're going to get a red bar buy signal. If this comes up and fails now, it's going to come back, give us our rule of 3, and then we're going to be in the clear to sell the daylights out of the NQ. So it looks like our early hawk signals all worked out. That's nice. Let's take a look at what's going on here in soybeans this morning. So here's the soybean market. We had a trend change signal and a late filter entry developed right around the open. Here was our trend change signal right here. We did get an early trend change signal back here in the overnight. So the market tailed off, came back a few minutes later with a late filter entry, and that too has had some very good follow through. I think that may have even hit our second profit objective by now. Yes, it did. You know, the opening range, it's always tough to decide whether you want to take an opening range trade or not. I suppose a good compromise would be to at least throw a onesie on it. With the opening range, I hate getting myself behind the 8 ball on a losing trade. Well, this is quite the spike that we see in here on the Raptor. So we violated the support. We can now expect 2 moves in the direction of the breakout. So what I'm waiting for now is a possible retest, another sell signal, hopefully something, in this neighborhood, maybe even a little bit higher. Okay, come on, retest. Where are you? All right, so we're getting a little bit of chop, which I suppose is not out of the ordinary. We're working actually a first micro-macro cross signal here to the upside. Some caution is in order with this signal because, well, the trend does seem to be down today, doesn't it? So we don't want to get too excited about buying a first micro-macro cross just because it's a first micro-macro cross. We can still buy it. However, I think it's important that we, here's the first micro-macro cross developing. This one, the macro line was still gray. So we let it develop and then we bracket it in a way like this so that we can protect ourselves a little bit more. I don't think we want to get too anxious about a counter trend move just yet. I'd love to see a double pullback here in the Raptor. Double pullback to the hard edge, a failure, and then a chance to sell that. That would be terrific. Okay, but they're not going to give it to us. So I'm going to set up here on the Eagle. So this bar right here effectively became our signal bar because this is the bar that turned the ATR line over. Good morning, Tony. Saying, can we take a look at the crude oil market? Absolutely, Tony. Here's crude oil. And crude, I don't know, kind of funny. We're, again, a little bit wishy-washy. We've got this big uptrend. Now we've come straight down. We've made a first micro-macro cross. Again, high probability signal, but we're missing a test of the extreme. Do I expect crude oil to, fall off the map, head back down here to 47.40, 47.50? Well, there's nothing saying it can't. But, even after a little bit of a run up like this, I find it hard to believe that the buyers are going to walk away from the market entirely. So if you're setting up a crude oil trade to take this first micro-macro cross, I think it's important to risk it as far as you can. Ideally, you want to risk it up here, but I can't afford that. That's too far away. So you can either wait for a better setup. You can maybe wait for macro pullback, a test of the extreme, which may develop into a macro pullback or a 4-arrow consolidation. Remember, in crude oil, it's probably only going to be a 3-arrow consolidation. But it's almost looking as though crude will try to head lower. Way to go, Ricardo. Ricardo grabbed 20 ticks off of the hard edge bounce here on the Raptor. Well done. So I'm not quite sure which signal he took. Maybe this one here out of the open. Maybe this one right here, but at any rate, good job, Ricardo. So we got our little retest and a move lower. Another first micro-macro cross here in the Hawk. Could have probably set that up like so. Did a little hit and run. Nice thing about the hawk, because you're looking for smaller profit objectives, it's usually easier to frame the trade a little bit tighter and perhaps take a few extra contracts, which always helps on the trade management side. Ricardo said he nabbed it off of this yellow bar sell right here. Good job. Well, I might get that double pullback into the Raptor after all. Not really happy about seeing this spike down here. Sometimes that leads to a trap where a lot of sellers get it on board. The market does not move lower and instead starts moving higher, forcing a lot of these sellers out of their positions. Jim says the Russell keeps making new highs, which seems a little odd. It's still early though. If we can ride out this first swing, I think we're going to be in good shape. So here on the Raptor now, we do have our double pullback. Let's see whether they come through here with a sell. So we've printed a buy signal. Excuse me, at least the triangles and hash marks. If we come back with a sell, that should be a pretty good opportunity. The advanced decline still holding strong, still around 1,000 to 1,100 to the buy side. Come on. You know you want to. Here we go. Come on. Let's see a little profit taking before the weekend. All right, so there's our sell signal. So we've engaged the signal. I'm just going to hit the sell market button to take us in. Of course, you can always enter by right-clicking and selecting your trade. This is a difficult place for the NQ right now. Right now, the sellers have control because of the lower swing high and the lower swing low. However, if we pivot here and start heading higher, a break of this high would be a real problem. So we see the buyers fighting them back a little bit as we get back down to these lows. But I think, okay, now go. Go hard. Go like somebody stole you. Get going. What I want to see is I want to see all the buyers that bought here get forced out of their positions. You see how active this bar is right now? How it's flip-flopping back and forth? Oh, darn it. Tag me at break even. That's all right. We'll get another chance at that. Getting yet another first micro macro cross here in the hawk. But rather than take it here, because I know that this is the limit of the buyers or the sellers, that's where I would want to sell below. And now we're back into yellow bars, so that nixes that opportunity. All right, I'm not going to give them too much room on this. I'm just going to let that high hold the sellers down. If not, it's going to be time to go. The place to enter, as I mentioned, is just below here. That's the safer place. Sure, Jim's saying, can I take a look at the YM Raptor? Absolutely. Oops, sorry. Don't know why I did that, but there you go. Oh, knock it off. I don't even have June crude. I don't know why that keeps coming up, but it's annoying. So here's the Raptor on the YM. You can see the YM just made a huge progression out of the open. Failed right here, gave us a signal out of the open. Not that this would have been a signal I would have been really comfortable taking. It is a soft edge sell, but we don't really have that test of the extreme that I like to see beforehand. Big, big move lower though. That would have been a nice one to get a handle on. So the way this is looking to me now, if you just step back and look at the chart for what the chart is. In fact, I forget which trader it is. I think it's Ed Sequoia, who will put the chart, print out a chart, or maybe just step back from his monitor so that he gets a more general view of the market rather than watching every little tick unfold. If you stepped back from your chart and you looked at this, this is looking a little bit like a bear flag, is it not? I think so. And that's not just because I've been looking to short the stock indices for the last couple of months because I can't believe they keep going higher. No, if you truly looked at this, this does look like a bear flag. Maybe more obvious on the YM than on others. The NQ, yeah, NQ a little bit more cluttered. But the mini Dow definitely giving us the look of a flag. All right, so here comes that double pullback type signal again, and I'm a little bit late getting in on that one. I don't want it to get confused with the stop strategy, which is why I turned that off there. All right, here we are back at the lows. Come on. There we go. There we go. Come on. Oh, the buyer's digging in again. Now, the unfortunate thing is it looks as though if I had entered on the hash mark, we'd either be at our profit target or pretty darn close. But I think we're still okay. Yeah, the NASDAQ definitely stronger than most. Come on, get down there. All right, well, we'll let that simmer for a moment. A lot of yellow bars cropping up here, right? That's never fun. What's the trade forecaster telling me? Oh yeah, we're in swing mode, moving into scalp mode in about 7 minutes time. So expect the volatility to stay with us. I suppose that shouldn't be a surprise given that the NQ has been in a rally for so long. Here's crude oil on the hawk. It just gave us a 3-arrow consolidation. It's not too late to take advantage of this one though, because even though we would be giving up, see, ideally we would frame the trade like this and our profit objective would be down here. You could still enter below there and set it up like this. That should be a fairly good signal. If we trade down below these lows. because this is where the buyers have made a stand, and if the sellers can press it below here, then we're probably going to see the buyers slip at least a little bit. Okay, the Raptor now into the hard edge here on the Dow. Let's see if we can get them to give us a little bit of a bounce there. Come on, Dow. The crude oil trade working out a little better. Here's crude oil on the hawk. So it's making a fairly steady progression lower. Looks like we should hit our profit target there. I'm going to wait that one out. I have a bad feeling, yes it did too. The NQ reversed and tagged our stop loss. Wow. So it looks like we might be moving a little bit sideways. All right, well, they're flip-flopping a little bit here. Michael asks a very good question. Some of you will have received an email. Well, if you haven't received it already, you will. Adam sent out an email to all the DTS and Raptor users about a Facebook page that he started for DTS and Raptor users, and it's essentially a private forum to discuss trade signals. A lot of you guys have been using these tools for a while now, and it's a way to refine signals, make signals known to other DTS and Raptor users. The only signals that we're really working with right now are the ones that Ray Burke developed, the ones that I developed. Things like here on the Hawk, for instance, the macro pullback or the first micro macro cross or something like that. Those are all signals that Ray and I have developed. But we would love to know about any signals that you find to be consistent. Oh, here they come again. Dare I throw, come on back. Here's a late filter entry signal, and it looks like I'm a little bit late on that one. We do get a chance at a second push on this one now, I suppose, now that we know the limit. The thing with the late filter entry signals is you need to take a look at these signals in the overall context of the chart. Yes, it's a late filter entry signal. Yes, it is a very high probability signal. However, what happened in the chart before that? Right? A whole lot of choppiness, like a roller coaster here. And before that, the market was heading lower. So the choppy period after a downtrend does not negate the possibility of an uptrend. In fact, it sort of helps because, the markets rarely turn on a dime. They need this transition period to sort themselves out, then they change direction and start going the other way. But I suppose what I'm trying to say is a late filter entry signal usually develops within a trend, like we have right here. Well, that's not that much of a trend, but okay, bad example. Let's see if I can find you a better one. Here's one. So we have an uptrending market, late filter entry signal. You can take that signal with a lot of confidence, right? The filter goes out of sync, comes back into sync. The trend line never changes color. That's your late filter entry signal. This one, there's not much trend before, and therefore it makes it a little trickier, a little dicier. That's why I only threw a single in there. Same thing with the Raptor here, where we're getting our trend change signal. Right, the band has changed over. It's now bullish. We're getting a buy signal, but once again, we had a rather bearish market. So regarding that DTS and Raptor trading room, if you're interested in sharing your thoughts. All right, so there we get another sell, and this one I'm going to enter below the low. So we're working now. We've had our little test of the extreme. See that? It's kind of an early trend change signal. Again, the market's still very, very sideways. The smart trader is going to wait until we get outside of this range. And then you get the people like me who are going to try to trade it to the bottom end of the trading range. And I better not get clobbered on this one because that will be a crummy way to start the weekend. Come on, you gave me that test. Let's go. Come on down. Being a little bit aggressive here. There's nothing wrong with waiting this out a little bit more, and in fact, that's perhaps what I should have done is let them sort themselves out before getting too excited about this. That was our open. Yes, it was. See, I have a bad feeling that the first trade that I took here that eventually got stopped out, I should have ran my stop very deep. Here, closer to 46 than not. All right, let's see what else we have going on. We can cancel that order because our trend line is flip-flopping again. Come on, you stinkers. I guess I could have, crude oil would have been a nice trade to hold on to a little bit longer. We took our profit, which is fine, but made a nice steady progression lower. Very tiny test of the extreme, just a little itty bitty one. Remember with these consolidation patterns, crude oil, we normally only get 3 arrows. Almost everything else we're looking for 4. It's just because crude is moving a little bit faster or a little bit more volatile most times. And these consolidation patterns, when they develop, when you get these 3 and 4 arrow consolidation patterns, they almost always take on the shape of a bear flag or a bull flag. Bull flags and uptrends, bear flags and downtrends, or they're going to end up going sideways. You get your 1, 2, 3 or 4 arrows. Oops, what did I do? Oh, shoot, I think I closed it. Oops, I think I pushed the wrong button. All right, hold on, let me rebuild the crude chart. But that's going to be the format of it. It's either going to take the shape of a bull flag or bear flag, or it's going to move sideways. That's your consolidation pattern. All right, well, just a crazy day in the NQ. Soybeans seem to be heading lower. So we got our with trend signal right here, and now they seem to be plodding along. Also in scalp mode, but not quite the violent scalp mode that we're seeing here in the NQ, which apparently is going to continue for the next hour or so. So pretty much for the remainder of the morning. We're going to see the market thrash back and forth. Well, now we're coming back with the first micro-macro cross. Again, because the market is so choppy, because it's moving so much sideways, I think it's the kind of situation you're going to want to buy it above the high rather than right on the hash mark. But everything is just so back and forth. I haven't really seen, well, I guess the signal out of the open was really the best one. Okay, well, we're just right in the middle of our trading range at the moment. Nothing really interesting. All right, well, I think we can probably close that. We did have a macro pullback here. We're working on another macro pullback signal. Oh dear, and they're coming back with yet another buy signal on the Falcon. What is up with that? What happened to all the sellers? They're around here somewhere. I know they are. Really? Yeah. Josh is saying the NASDAQ generated 4-arrow consolidation on the hawk. It certainly did. I don't know why I'm stuck in such a bearish mindset. Well, there you go. Once again, the signal was right. Sometimes the hardest thing to do is get out of your own way. Okay, so the way things seem to be shaping up, aside from the obvious choppiness, is we've had a rather deep retracement here with a red bar buy, good follow through, macro pullback slash 4-arrow consolidation, okay follow through, but we're getting more yellow bars. Now, I know you guys think that I'm just hung up on selling, but each of these moves lower is getting progressively shorter, and we're still in a huge sideways funk. I don't know. The only way that was really paying off this morning, right out of the gate, was to the downside, right? We had the big progression lower, and here we are again. We're bouncing off of the primary resistance. Did we even see the primary support yet? No, not yet. We only made the median line. Yeah, Freaky Friday is right, Lance. Yeah, Tony said all the sellers went to Jamaica for the weekend. I think you're right. Oh, and they're going to make a liar out of me again. Another late filter entry signal. This one has a little bit more trend to it. Now the signal is just developing, right? We just have our warning dot. It hasn't printed just yet. Okay, I'm not going to take it, but just for curiosity's sake, here's the late filter entry signal on the Falcon. As they plod higher. Josh is asking about the ultimate support and resistance suite here. He's asking if price is above the gold line, do you generally look for buy signals? And if it's below, do you generally look for sell signals? Yes, sir. That's exactly what we do. The median line is just a reference. It tries to give you, well, it essentially tells you there's 10 resistance lines above and 10 support lines below. It's the line that happens to fall right in the middle of the assortment. But the line, the median line, along with the primary resistance and the primary support, tend to be the three strongest lines in the assortment. So as a rule of thumb, if the market is trading above the median line or bouncing off of the median line, that's this gold one, yes, we're generally more bullish than bearish. And vice versa. If we're trading below the median line or we're bouncing off the median line to the downside, we're going to be more bearish. Jim's asking, why would I get long above the or below the, why would I take this signal with the primary resistance just sitting above it? Well, the market reacted. Now, I didn't take this signal. I'm definitely more bearish today, and I can't chase it. I'm sorry. I'm going to get clobbered. I didn't take this signal, but it is a late filter entry signal. I posted it just so that we could see how it plays out. But what we had happen here is the market came up, it hit the primary resistance line, poked through, reacted, came back, and gave us yet another signal. So this is actually showing strength. This is, you know how we get our breakouts and reactions, our retests, and then the market going? Well, that's essentially what's going on here, except in this case, our resistance line is right here. So we broke, came down, retested, and we're heading higher. Now notice our swing high or our swing lows are still higher, right? We're still making higher swing highs. So there's every reason to suspect that the market is still in an uptrend. Remember that even though these lines are very useful, they're predictions, right? They're not really there. So don't take it or not take a trade because of one of the lines. I would tell you the same thing if you were trading stochastics or RSI or Bollinger Bands or whatever. You always need to be trading what's going on in your chart. Now, we're getting a late filter entry signal. Like I said, we've intersected the resistance area, we've seen the reaction, we've come back, we're printing another buy signal. So that's telling me that the market is going to try to make a push higher. And so far, so good. I didn't trust it on a gut level only because the market had made such a strong decline earlier that I feel that the sellers have control, but look at that. Boom. Certainly far enough along that we could roll our trade to break even, or at the very least bring our stops up relatively tight. Yeah, Josh is asking, but do you enter a sell signal above the gold line? The answer should be no. Well, again, you have to take the overall context into account. Like when we opened this morning and we're generating a sell signal, here, let's turn this off. There we go. Okay, so you open up your charts in the morning and you're taking a look before the market opens and you say, oh, all right, well, the market has a slightly bullish flavor today because here's my median line. We're already trading above primary resistance. I anticipate the market's going to be kind of bullish today. All right, well, you can take that attitude into the market, but look at what happens right out of the open. So the market opens, we generate a trend change signal, right? Down, trend line changes color, up, down. We know this is a high probability signal. Am I going to ignore this signal just because it's trading above the median line? No. No. Remember, these lines, again, they're predictive. They're not really there. Same thing with this trend line. That trend line is not really there. The only thing that's truly going on here is the price. The Falcon is looking at the price, it's analyzing what's going on behind the scenes, and it's saying, we have a trend change signal. Do you want to take it? Okay, now if you choose not to take it because it's above the median line, then that's fine. That's your set of parameters. You've made a decision. That's okay. But do I avoid selling just because it's above the median line? No, absolutely not, because you're going to end up with one of these, right? Where the market just drifts lower. Now you had several chances to get in on this one. You had a nice bounce off of the primary resistance here, came back with yet another sell signal. So even if you didn't take this one, you had another chance on the retest here because prices broke the primary resistance, came back, hit it from the underside, came back with a sell signal. So you still had a chance to sell it down here to the median line. But no, just because prices are above the median line does not mean that they will automatically rally, that they cannot move lower, and that I would not use or that I would not sell them. When the support and resistance suite first came out, all these lines were one color. They were all blue. You had no idea where the median line was. You had no idea where the primary resistance or primary support lines were. And you can still do it that way. You can go into your indicator panel and you can make all your line colors the same. So I guess what I'm saying is when they first came out, it really didn't matter. What you were looking at is you were looking at how the market reacted to the support or resistance area and then traded accordingly. So in this instance here, if we saw it break a resistance line, come back, test it from the underside, and then come back and generate a sell signal, we would sell it and we would use this as target 1 and we would use this as target 2. Now remember, when it first came out, all the lines were blue. They weren't different colors. I asked Ben to reprogram it so that we could identify the median line and the primary support and primary resistance a little bit more easily. But really, each line has its own value. So no, I know I kind of beat that one to death, but no, you don't avoid selling just because we're above the median line. And likewise, you don't avoid buying just because we might be below the median line. So let's see, would we have hit our profit target yet? Very, very close. Come on, get up there. All right, there they go. exactly, Josh. Josh says, now I got it. So you don't look necessarily at the line color, but you look at the overall context. Yes, that's right. Now I do add a little bit of extra weight to these three lines here because they tend to influence the market the most because they tend to print around where the market does most of its trading. So, for instance, if I roll back here a day without making you too dizzy, and you can do this yourself, but you can see that the market will spend a considerable amount of time. Well, yesterday was maybe a bad example because it was below, stayed only around the primary support area for an hour, and then put in a big rally. I'll go back another day. This is a little bit more typical, where you can see that the market spends a fair amount of time around these three lines. Practically the entire session was spent around these three lines: primary resistance, the median line, and the primary support. So that's the reason that I highlight them, because they do have a tendency to influence the market initially. But you know, the signal is still the signal. Here was that late filter entry signal. I didn't trust it. I should have. Went up, hit the high probability target, and then reversed. So once again, DTS being a little bit smarter than I am. Oh well. Okay, so we're right back up to the highs of the day. Of course, this is where the initial selling took off. Okay, Mark's got a good question about the overnight gap. Oh, here, I'll do it on the Eagle. It'll be a little easier to see. Okay, so Mark's asking, when the market opened this morning, there was an overnight gap. Let's see, where did we leave off last night? We left off at about, well, right about here, I guess, around 45.94.95. So that was yesterday's closing price, more or less. And then the market opened, well, it actually didn't open that far away. We're pretty much skewered yesterday's closing price. Opening gaps, they do tend to fill. Okay, well, there's three types of gaps. There's the two main ones are what they call an acceleration gap and an exhaustion gap. The other one is no gap. It's a gap, but it doesn't act like a gap. So we're going to pretend a little bit now. We're going to say that this is the overnight session. The market's trading, or pardon me, this is the close. We're ignoring the overnight. You don't get gaps in a 24-hour chart. You only get gaps from one day to the next. So if we're looking at where the market left off, and we're going to pretend this is where the market left off, and let's say it opens down here like this, all of a sudden we have an opening gap. Very often, out of the open, given where the North American market left off and where the North American market opens, it will try to fill that gap. So if you're trading and you see this type of activity happen, you could simply buy the market right out of the open. You see the opening price is way down here. You see it left off up here. You could just hit a buy market, go in maybe with a single so you don't expose yourself to too much in case the market tends to drift a little bit lower first. But as a very rough rule of thumb, when you get a situation like this, the market will try to fill the open. And vice versa. If the North American market opens up or left off over here and opens up here, you're going to have an opening gap to the upside. And it's the same type of situation when you spot this, you could just flat out sell. Throw a single in, see if you can get into that gap. Don't be greedy. If you pick up $100 or $200, grab it and run. The problem with this strategy is when this market gaps like this, you don't know whether it's a gap that's going to get filled. And this gap occurs, by the way, if you haven't figured it out, because of the overnight session. Right? The overnight session traded higher. So from where the market left off to where it opened the next day, we had all this overnight activity pushing the market higher. The problem is when the gap opens like this, you don't know whether it's going to be filled or whether it's what they call an acceleration gap, in which case it's only the tip of the iceberg and the market rallied up in the overnight, and then here comes the North American Open and away it goes. It just keeps going and never looks back. We've seen days like that in the NQ actually, where it will take off and never ever look back to get into that gap. But more often than not, the market will try to trade into the gap out of the open, if there is one. Now, this morning, I don't think we really had a gap. I would not have called this morning's activity a gap because we finished the day, what did we say, around 45.95, so that puts it right about there. And we opened the day right about here. So when you opened your chart, there was an itty bitty opening gap, very, very tiny. Usually an opening gap looks more like this. Okay, so it looks like the closing price was probably somewhere right about here, and the next day the open, well, okay, again, not a good example. Let's say the open opened down here. Let's say the opening price was down here. Now that is a gap, right? That is a substantial gap. If I saw a gap like that, I might be inclined to, go into manual mode, throw a onesie on it, and either just hit the buy market or, throw an order in and see if it will fill that gap or part of the gap. Remember, if a gap gets half filled, that's usually all it's going to do. It doesn't always fill the entire gap. But no, a gap of, 2 or 3, well, a couple of points is not really a gap. So if the market closed at 45.95 and opened at 45.98, that's not really a gap. However, if the market closed at 45.95 and opened at 4600, that's a gap. Or 4605, that's definitely a gap. Jim says, nice trend line break on the NQ and the YM, and of course I missed it. Oh, I'm in the same boat today. All right, we're working on a trend change signal here on the Falcon. Come on, give me a signal now. The Raptor is trying. We're getting a turnover here on our Hawk. Okay, come on. Play nice. Come on. Well, I thought we were going to get one more signal here. We are getting a first micro macro cross to the downside. We haven't really had a good test of the extreme. I'm just salivating over a chance to short. Oh, it's terrible. All right, you guys. I honestly think we're going to see the NQ head lower today. So if you are following the NQ this afternoon, and you get a decent sell signal, I think you can probably go for it. Otherwise, remember, no trading room on Monday. I will see you guys again on Tuesday. Have yourselves a wonderful weekend, and we'll talk to you later. Bye for now.